next phase is putting some meat to the bone. It is building some coalitions. It is people coming together. It is not everybody having to do it solo. That we can come together as groups of individuals, groups of organizations, groups of people with interest, and collectively devise something by which you can begin to address this issue a little bit better than it has been addressed.
In the 2004 legislative session, the General Assembly passed and the Governor enacted Public Act 04-234, an act concerning prison overcrowding. Public Act 04-234 enacted to develop and implement a comprehensive reentry strategy for offenders discharged from prison in order to assist in maintaining the prison population at or under the authorized bed capacity, promote the successful transition of inmates from prison back to their communities, protect public safety, and support the rights of victims. The offender reentry strategy is intended to reduce recidivism as a method to control the state's persistent prison overcrowding problem. In the revised budget, the General Assembly also provided $13 million in funding for specific justice initiatives that were intended to control prison overcrowding, assist offenders as they transition from prison to the community, and enhance public safety.
The purpose of the Connecticut Building Bridges is to bring about change to help those people with the reentry. And the change is not about programs. Make that clear. It's about people. And if we remember that, we will all be better served for it. This is about setting a different course, and it's about full membership in society. It's also about hope. And I use that word a lot when I talk about these kinds of programs and where we can go, because it's hope, literally, that leads to so many positive things. If we don't have hope, where are we headed? And I think that's important. It also creates healthy neighborhoods, and it brings about a sense of belonging with a community. That's where the hope comes in. And I think, frankly, more than anything else, it helps to improve our quality of life. Because if people belong to a community, if they belong in a neighborhood, it improves everyone's lives altogether.
There are three words that start with E that make a difference, and I think Dr. Heim will back me up on this. Employment, education, and the kind of emotional support that comes from being united with family and friends and so forth. And if you get the three E's lined up, things are good.
If we invest more resources and working out better connections with schools and job programs and housing programs, that will make progress in reducing our prison population.
First went to the doctor's appointment with this lung problem, and we were talking about what I did and what my political career was, and I said to him, you know what I'm doing? I'm still fighting the political battles of my grandfather. And some people get discouraged and go on to other things when there's more success, and some people keep up the fight. The fights continue, whether it be jail overcrowding, social justice. You know, they executed Christ, and they keep executing people who talk like him. That's just the way it is. I mean, and those battles, those needs, have to keep being articulated because there are continuing pressures against them, and you just got to keep doing it. And you hope that some generation comes up and picks up the axe and goes forward.
Event takes place, the system self-adjusts, and everybody who is making decisions about what to do with these people that are breaking the law become more concerned, more conservative. And every decision maker from the beginning of the system to the end of the system get tougher, harder. The charges are different, the pleas are different, pretrial decisions are different, bail decisions are different, sentencing decisions, parole supervision, revocations, returns to prison, prison populations will always expand after an event, and the question is the state sophisticated enough to take hold of that and get it to level off, because we cannot create criminal justice policy based on tragedies.
When I started doing research in prison, I was immediately struck by the tremendous amount of talent that was hidden behind the prison walls. The choirs were magnificent. With all due respect to the music faculty at Central Connecticut State University, I have never heard singing like I've heard in prison.
Truly free, to be truly free. The oldness of new things fascinates me, like a new feeling about life and love people we know. Night sparkles in laughter and walking in snow. That old feeling of freedom that all of us know. Speaking from the heart.
We invest in people up front, in building them and directing them. It's far easier than later on down the road having to redirect them. But when that child you're trying to build is the child of a broken person through incarceration, the task is that much greater. But as a professional, there's nothing less that you should be willing to take on.
We have to be able to provide a framework for people, for children and adult children, to tell their stories, just like our panel today. And to tell their stories, telling truth to power, telling the stories in ways that are going to make a difference, not, as one of my colleagues says, to be just included as the warm-up act or the sad story or the example, but to really include the children and their caregivers and their incarcerated parents in all of the task force initiatives, in all of the writing, in all of the research. Only then will we be able to break the silence and really make the kind of the ubiquitous change that we need to make.
This just isn't a place and time here. It's a part of a process and an ideal, I believe, that's trying to get us to a better state, a better process of reentry and reintegration and criminal justice and community.
If collectively we can get the prison population down and the crime rate down at the same time, then there will be more money available. It's only going to work if we make it happen.
In talking with employers, I've often found initially there's a lot of objection conceptually, but then when you get into the dialogue, what often happens is that you kind of see that they do acknowledge, yep, they are entitled to a second chance.
This population is real. 95% of them are coming back to our community. We must house them. If we don't, we will cause more problems, not more solutions, and that's what we're here to do.
If you talk to a man or woman that's been locked up for 5 years and coming back, it is real. The mind-boggling effect that artificial lighting have on the minds of people that are incarcerated versus natural light. All those things have to be addressed before we can move forward.
You are someone to be listened to be heard around certain issues. Don't back off. You have to work to get it done.
And you'll see that in 2002, when we first were talking to Connecticut, you were one of the fastest growing prison populations in the country. When we looked at 2010 to 2012, you can see that you are the state with one of the fastest declining prison populations in the country.
What we have not done well yet is we have not been able to pinpoint how much are we saving from the changes we've made in the juvenile system. How much are we saving from what we've done on technical violations? And take that block of money and commit it to the very locations where our clients are coming from.
What I'm hearing is there's this plethora of issues that go into making a person a future inmate. And you put these things into a meat grinder and move this person through a system, and then when they're on their way out on the back end, as Ivan put it, there's no actual way to care for them. Like, there's so many hurdles that come with figuring out your new path. You're always at a step behind. If we're talking about a long-term change in the way that we address criminal justice in our society, then we're going to have to think about a long-term cultural shift.
In the history of the world, no nation has ever incarcerated so many of its citizens as we are. That's wrong. I don't care how you slice it, that's wrong. We have more black men in prison today than we had in slavery in 1863. That's wrong. That's simply wrong. 34 Western nations with a population, a free population, 2.5 times ours, they don't have half of our prison population.
You know, how do you get jobs for people that have been incarcerated and come out, done their time, and now they're ready to reintegrate into society? So it's up to the business community to be open, to be hiring people like that. And that, as I think many of you are aware, has been a challenge.
We really have come a long way. There is so much more data and so much more evidence than we had even 10 years ago, but we've got a ways to go. And that's what Results First is here in Connecticut and across the country to help do, to fill that information gap and to use that information to help make some of the more difficult policy and budget decisions, certainly in the criminal justice arena and in some other social policy areas as well.
The idea is to lead to the reintegration into society as a productive member of society.
Something dawned on me. If you treat people like humans, they will act like humans. And this statement kind of carries throughout every piece of what we saw of the way they run their prisons there.
You can set an example by doing, and that will become a motivation for people to have some hope that somebody cares somewhere and may inspire them to try a little harder. But without anything taking place, you give people very little to hope on. And they need something to hope on, that you're making an attempt, that you're trying to do something.
Connecticut criminal justice policy and practice have seen many changes over the past 30 years. As the debate continues, it remains to be seen what the future will bring.